and welcome to A Cup of SpiritualiTea. We are so glad that you are here. Now, this is a space where spirituality feels like having a cozy chat over a cuppa with friends, where each month we explore topics that you've been asking about, from grounding and connecting with angels to understanding chakras, crystals, and so much more. And of course, we would love for you to say hello in the comments, like this video, share it with anyone who'd enjoy it, and let us know your thoughts or questions. You know, this show is about you and your curiosity, your journey, and your growth. And of course, if we don't get to your question in this episode, then don't worry. It may become a topic of a future show. So we're here to create a community of learning, connection, and exploration. And more importantly, this is a safe, judgment-free space where everyone is welcome to share and grow.
Absolutely. We're building a space where we can all learn from each other and connect with like-minded souls. Whether you're brand new to spirituality or you've been on your path for a while, there's always something new to explore. So settle in with your favourite cuppa and let's dive into this month's topic. But first, we need to introduce ourselves properly. So Ray, did you want to go first?
Yes, certainly. So I'm Ray, and I'm a spiritual guide and healer who's passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Now, through angelic Reiki guide meditations and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating a soul-aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect with our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life full of abundance and fulfillment. I'm here to hold space for you as we explore spirituality together in this safe and supportive community.
Well, I'm Sally. I'm passionate about empowering women. So I do women's circles, I run meditation groups, I offer womb healing, psychic readings, and it's all about helping mainly women to find their true selves again, reconnect with who they are, and understand that they've got that power within them to grow and to blossom and to flourish. It's just like we just got to peel back those layers and then off we go. And for me, there's nothing better. It's what really makes my soul sing is to be empowering women, and particularly um, women who've got a lot on their plate. Like I'm a carer. I've got a child with a disability, and people like me, people who do so much for everyone else and just need that time and that space just to rediscover who they are. So that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, beautiful. So obviously we are going to be talking about elementals today. That's one of the questions that we've been asked about. So from my perspective, elementals are the spirits or energies connected with the natural world. They're often seen as guardians or caretakers of the elements like earth, air, fire, and water. Now, while they aren't angels, they are powerful magical beings deeply rooted in nature. And many people feel their presence when they're out in the world, sitting by the sea or walking through woodlands. And working with elementals can help us feel more grounded, inspired, emotionally balanced, and connected to the world around us. So that's my understanding of elementals. What about you, Sally?
Yeah, so like you, the elementals are connected to the elements. And when we communicate with them, it's similar to communicating with a spirit guide. So I will go through how to communicate with them in a moment, but I just realised I ought to explain a little bit more about who they are and what they do. So as you said, we've got things like the earth elementals, and that includes things like brownies and gnomes and elves. And they work with the earth, with the soil, with the rocks, with the roots, and they're really good at helping us to, well, helping our bodies, our physical bodies, to ground with the earth. Then we've got the water elements, elementals. We've got like mermaids and naiads and water sprites, and underneath the water sprouts there's that little known elemental called the water sprout.
Oh, I know those very well.
Yeah. And then there's the air ones, and the only one I could find out about was sylphs. and they're all to do with getting out of our heads and helping us with mental clarity. And then, as you mentioned, we've got the salamanders. And what I thought was interesting about them was they're not called salamanders because of the lizard-like creatures. It's because they look like salamanders. The flame shapes that they are look a little bit like salamanders. And that's why they're called salamanders, which I never knew. And so the other thing that I found out, which is nice because it's confirmation for me, is that when you're out and about and you see a face in a tree, or you feel you see a little face peeking out from some leaves, they are elementals, and you are actually seeing them. So if you catch a figure or a face in a tree or a stone or somewhere in the natural world, you are catching a glimpse of the elemental associated with that natural aspect. So I'd quite like to jump to talking about where I've seen them, if that's all right.
Yeah,
It's quite
that's
early
absolutely
on,
fine.
but I would like to talk about where you see them and how to communicate with them. So the first time, I've only seen them about 3 times. So the first time, like there's bluebell walks and things like that.
Yeah.
It was a local bluebell walk to me, and there's a little stream, there's a little wooden bridge, and I used to say when the kids were little, if fairies were real, this is where they'd be. And we'd always brought the dogs, so I never saw anything. And then one day I did the walk by myself, and this is what I'd advise: do it without your dogs, because
Yeah.
you will not see a thing. Because I kept saying, thinking, if they were real, this is where they'd be, because it was so perfect, and there were bluebells, and the sun was coming through the trees. It was all dappled. Saw nothing. Did the same bluebell walk myself, but without dogs, and to be honest, without children. Mum, I'm tired. Mum, I need a drink. And that's when I saw the first one, and they were peeping out of the bluebell leaves. The bluebells were almost finished, and I just saw this glimpse of a little face peeping out from behind a bluebell leaf, and I looked again, and it was gone. So then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to sit really quietly, and there's a bit of a rotten log. I thought, I'm going to sit there, and it will come again. No, it didn't. It didn't come again. And what you're meant to do, this is what I've not read this, but this is what people have told me in the past, that you're meant to put out little crumbs or little bits of cream or things that they like as a thank you. And I found that out since, but that's something I didn't do. The second time, we were stuck in traffic on the way to Glastonbury, and there was a hedge right next to the car, and in the hedge I could see these little eyes, and it looked like a little person made of sticks, literally made of sticks, a bit like that Julia Donaldson stick man, a little
Yeah.
bit like that. And I just saw this little face, and like a twig kind of like moving like arms, and then I looked again, and again it had gone. But that was really magical, because I was just in the car in the passenger seat and just looking, and that lasted longer than the one I saw in the bluebells. And then the other one's about undines, and this was quite a long one. So I was on holiday in Portugal, and it was a normal swimming pool, but they don't have chemicals. They do it all naturally, but a normal swimming pool. And the gentleman I was staying with, he said, "Have you met the undines in the pool yet?" And I was like, "No, I haven't," but sort of laughing now, and they can't mean it. And I was chatting with a friend, and him and I were just watching the pool, and suddenly there are these spirals and swirls, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this." We called other people over, look at this, and then I was like, "Oh, we've got to get a camera. We've got to take photos." Got my camera to take photos, completely vanished. And I tried to film it, and then I thought, "Oh no, they might not want photos taken." So I just said to the pool, "I'm so sorry. I honestly won't do that again. Honestly, please come back out." And they did, and they were communicating with yeses, which was making the water bubble up and down, and if they wanted a no, it was a straight line.
Wow.
And this went on for ages. And these undines, the guy whose house it is, the guy who lives there, and his girlfriend, they communicate regularly with these. And it is, and there's no doubting it. Once you'd asked questions and you could see the answers, and that links with Veda Austin's work about the idea of water having a consciousness, and that she has her freezing method. But this was it just in real life. It is, anyone else would think it's unbelievable, but literally it worked. And each day you could go and do this. It wasn't like a one-off. And we did try to debunk it. The pool pump wasn't on, the wind wasn't blowing. We tried under different conditions, and each time they would come and talk to us. So in the second day I said, can we take your photo? And they said no, and they did a line for a no. And they categorically didn't want to be on film or a photo. It,
Wow.
magical, absolutely magical. And the other two experiences, do you know what? You could have said, oh, it might have been or it might not. But the Undine one, without a shadow of a doubt, there's nothing else I could think of. And I was really trying to debunk it and I couldn't.
Yeah. That is absolutely amazing. I
Yeah.
think my main story is basically at the Chalice Well in Glastonbury. And that was when I stayed there, so obviously had access to the gardens after everyone had gone, and you could literally see the fairies in the trees, in the leaves. They're just floating here, there, and everywhere, which was absolutely amazing down there. So that's probably really the only experience I could say that I know about. I mean, the chances are there's probably been more. I mean, I do occasionally, I will leave some nut milk with some honey in the garden for the fairies in my garden, just so that I know they're being looked after and they're looking after my space.
That's such
Uh,
a nice idea. Do you mind me asking about when you saw them flying? What do they look like? Orbs or little seeds? What was
no,
it
they
like?
they they actually look like they had wings on. I wouldn't I wouldn't say they look like, as you see the picture of fairies as you get in pictures,
Yeah,
and that, but you could definitely see wings, and sort of like little leg things, but they weren't, clear with faces
yeah,
and everything like that. But they definitely were something different. They definitely weren't the leaves of a
no,
tree or anything like that. You could tell they were slightly different from that, but I couldn't really make out any,
like defining.
face or anything like that. But, I know people that have seen faces, they've seen them as balls of light, um, out of the corner of their eye, something flashes and then disappears, and that. So, I mean, anyone who's watching, if you've had an experience of
Yeah,
fairies or elementals or anything like that, then please
pop it in the
do.
chat.
Please do let us know. Um, and I think, maybe we can go a little bit deeper on sort of like some of the elementals that you've mentioned. So, and these are the ones I just have got a vague idea about. I mean, there are hundreds that are associated, but gnomes are, that obviously they're connected with the earth. So their energy is kind of like grounding, stable, and nurturing. And you might often find them in forests, gardens, and anywhere you feel deeply rooted. Hence why we have garden gnomes,
Oh yeah,
um, because technically, if you want to connect with gnomes, why not get a gnome for your garden? They help with grounding, abundance, stability, and manifesting. Because obviously being of the earth, plants growing, etc. So might be worth getting a gnome for your garden,
yeah. So what
which
I've
will be
yeah, go
which
on.
would be pretty cool. And if you spend time in nature, gardening, using crystals, walking barefoot on the earth, you're more likely to connect with them. So yeah, if you haven't, get yourself a gnome. I don't have a gnome, but I do have a Buddha, but I don't have a gnome.
Will an elf on the shelf do?
Oh yeah, the elf on the shelf. Yeah, yeah. If you got kids, you know what the elf on the shelf is.
So, what's happened a couple of times, and a friend and I were meditating together. We could see a veil, because we were able to sort of go to different places. We've been, to different planets. We've been to the underworld. We've been to different places. Just for fun, really. And one of the times we could walk through a veil, and there is like the fairyland veil. So when you go through, and it's like sort of filters have been removed from your eyes. So we've got these almost like man-made filters that go over our eyes, so we could be walking in the garden and not see any. And I think the reason that I've seen them those few times is because the filter was either very thin, or I was in a very responsive, open-hearted, emotional state. So, but when these filters are lifted, which my friend and I saw in this meditation, the world is full of the elementals. So you could be walking in a forest and you will see like little stick type people. In this meditation, we saw what looked like little children with acorns, that looked like acorn heads, fairies that fly, but also orbs, also seeds. That's why I asked you about, did they look like seeds? Because dandelion seeds. There were
Mm.
fairies that were that small that looked like dandelion seeds.
Wow.
And then there was a puddle. Can't remember whether it was in the mud or not, but for them it was like a little bathing pool, and we could see like little I don't even know what sort of creatures they were. They looked gnomish and things in their face. They're about this big. They looked quite childlike, quite chubby, and they were just splashing in the water. And it's like this, the land of the elementals is full of magic and childlike wonder. And if you're ever lucky enough to see it, even just psychically, it's like you're being brought back to this most wonderful childhood, before life and social conditioning gets in the way. It was that, and your heart is so open and you feel connected to every living thing. So when that veil's lifted, it's like I don't know, it's like you touch a rose and it's almost like you can feel its heartbeat, you can feel its pulse. You touch, I won't talk about trees because we're going to do that in a moment, but you touch a stone, you can feel the energy of the stone, and you can see the history of where it's been, if it came from a river, if it was in a desert. And it's just like a multi-sensory, open-hearted approach to life. The most beautiful, well, magic. I'm just using the word magic, even though it's not magic, it's real. And I never thought that by the time I was 50, I'd be talking to people about fairies and elementals and glowing and just telling people it's real. As a child, you hoped it would be, but it's actually real, it's legit, and it is out there.
Yeah, and
And
you've actually, I remember as you're talking, you've just reminded me of something again when I was down in Glastonbury in the Chalice Well, between the two trees.
oh yes.
If you stand there and you connect and you're facing towards the gate, you can actually see the vow there.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I just love doing that, and you literally see the shimmering vow, and you can actually see. So it's that's like a portal that goes into the fairy realm as well.
Amazing.
So obviously you're closer than I am. So next time you're down at the Chalice Well,
I'm going to
when you
do
get a
this.
chance, just stand between the two trees and connect and face the gate that goes towards the pool. And just as your eyes soft focus, you'll see the shimmering veil.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's
That
only
is
you're talking about that. So I thought, oh, yeah,
Yeah, because yew trees are a portal to other worlds,
yeah.
and particularly the yew trees there at the Chalice Well, and also the local sacred site where I was this morning. They are very, very powerful, and they're very powerful portals. So weirdly, it doesn't surprise me that you saw that there, and I can't wait to go again and try that now because
Oh, yeah, you've got to go. You've got to go and try it. So before we get on to the air, the fire, and the water, let's talk about trees because obviously they are very earth and grounded.
yes. So trees. Do you know what? I'm going to compare trees, talking to trees, to talking with dragons. They have weirdly a similar energy, and we're hoping that maybe our next episode may be dragons. Do you think we could make it dragons? I've had a couple of people ask about dragons.
I think we could possibly talk about dragons. Why
I'd like
not?
to, yeah, because a couple of people have asked me if we could do that, so I would like to do that if that's all right. Yeah, so the things I'm talking about for trees are quite similar to dragons, so you can apply them to both. The first thing I would say about communicating with trees is before you go and place your hands on a tree or hug them, ask their permission. They are still, many trees are very, very old. The trees I communicate most with are yew trees at my local sacred site. They're over 2,000 years old, these trees. And they come from a time of respect and the time of courtly love, and they've seen a lot, and politeness goes a long way. So the first thing is to ask permission. And mostly they will say yes, but sometimes they will say no, and that is okay. Find a more friendly tree. For me, I find that yew trees are I've had the most success with talking to yew trees. I feel that's because they're often at sacred sites, and the yew trees that I speak to are all at sacred sites. They've seen a lot. They've got a lot of that wisdom. They've witnessed the rituals going on. They've witnessed the gatherings. They've witnessed the goddess worship. They've witnessed all of this, and they love to pass on that wisdom. So the first thing when you're communicating with a tree, after you've asked permission and you place your hands on their trunk, and you'll feel their energy first of all go through your arms, and then you'll get an idea of the sort of personality the tree is. And then you might do, because we're talking about being polite, say, my name's Sally, introduce yourself. Is there a name I can call you? And then you can ask something simple like, tell me what I need to know. Just like when you're communicating with your guides, that's quite a good first question when you're building a relationship with your guides. And they will communicate. Now, this is interesting. They will either communicate, you can sometimes hear their words, and then sometimes the wind will blow and you can hear the words on the wind. Or they will show you images and scenes, like the one at Glastonbury, one of the yew trees. I was talking to her probably only about 3 weeks ago, and I was like, you must have seen a lot. Show me some of your most fondest memories. And she was showing me druids that were walking and connecting to different trees, and she used to be connected to by the druids. And then she was showing me when the gardens, it must have been like the 20s or something like that, when the gardens were first formulated, like designed and things. And she was showing me people working and how joyful she felt because the area was going to become loved and protected because people knew it was sacred. The other thing is that once you've made, this is going to sound weird, but once you've made that connection with your tree, you can actually communicate with it psychically when you're not there. So I will often communicate with the yew trees at my local sacred site, and they will communicate back, and it just becomes like any other guide. But I would say they're a lot slower in their means of communication, and they're not flowery with their words. They're quite sparse with their words. It almost sometimes it's like they're talking in bullet points. That's how I would describe it, which can be similar to how dragons speak. And then after a meditation, when you're at home or wherever and you feel you can't ground, you can then connect psychically with your tree. You can ask them permission, can I ground with you? Then you can grow your roots out of the soles of your feet, which will connect psychically to their roots, and they will help you anchor. Or if you've had a day and you're discombobulated and you need grounding, but you can't get in real life to that tree, and they will do it for you. They will ground you. You can go through that process, and you can feel their love and their warmth. It's just the most wonderful thing. I was just so glad when I discovered it, and I want as many people to know about this as possible, because it's so useful to all of us. And even when I've been like in Florida or something, where I'm probably not ever going to go back there now because the energy is so tricky, the way people have damaged the environment over there. But I'd connect back to my tree in England just to help ground me and center me. So I would say it's really worth, and it's a real privilege to be able to communicate with trees, and it's really worth you giving it a go, even if you think I'm talking absolute rubbish. Anyone watching, I just feel it's really worth trying, because it's really made a massive positive impact on my life.
Yeah, and I love, love, love trees. There's anyone who knows me, I will always be talking about trees, you know. And when I get my retreat property, the non-negotiable is it's got to have its own trees or its own bit of woodland, because I have to have trees around me, and I love spending time in their energy and their communication, you know. And again, I'll always ask before I go up to a tree I don't know. Well, even if I know it, I'll ask if it's okay that day. I'll even ask permission if it and I do this with flowers or anything really, and ask permission to take photos,
Oh,
as well, because there are some trees, flowers, etc., that don't want you to take a photo. You know, they might another day later, but that particular day, they don't. And I often find when I hold a tree and connect with it, I literally I feel the vibration and the energy change, you know, all around me. It's like I'm being sucked into the earth. It is really, really beautiful. But it all then I know why I have such a connection with trees, because in a previous lifetime I was a tree element, a dryad, um, which um, I haven't explored too deeply, because I think there was I think there was a bit of trauma there, with that. But that will explain my connection with trees. Because yeah, it's amazing to know that I did have a past life as a dryad and elemental in a tree. Um, you know, living and breathing, because they do have their own energy, you know. And as you would have seen from, you know, I was really pleased when Judy Dench did that program about the trees she planted, because they went into that connection of the roots, how, you know, they all look after each other. You know, it's a community, they all look after each other, they feel each other, they send healing, they send protection, um, you know, to one another. You know, and if you're going to have to cut down a tree for whatever reason, um, you know, or you need to prune a tree, always ask, always tell it what you're about to do, and explain why you are doing it. um you know, because that will help the tree as well. And if you sort of like send love, you know, to it, I mean, not, you know, you don't just cut trees or bits off trees just for the sheer hell of it, but if there's a reason that you need to. I mean, sometimes if they're cutting trees round here, like if I go to the lakes round the where I am, and they've recently been cutting back the trees, because obviously, you know, going into the water because it's a fishing lake, etc. I do literally, I'm sort of like going along, I'm really sorry, and I'm sending out love to um in, you know, saying really sorry this has happened, you know, there's a good reason why they are doing it, um you know, and I'm just sending you so much love.
oh, that's beautiful. I didn't even know about the photo thing to ask
Yeah, 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 because technically, again, they are an energy,
Mm.
and if we're asking permission to touch them, then as we would as humans, although I know in today's age people take photos of everyone that they see, but technically you should ask someone to take
Yeah,
permission to take a photo of them. So why not include
yeah, you're
Tris? I do
right.
appreciate that for you.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move. So trees actually can take us into air because obviously you mentioned, yeah, really the only thing I know about elementals for air are the sylphs.
Mm, it's the only
Um,
one I could find.
yeah, and to me they're kind of like light, free. They're kind of like associated with our mind. Thought, inspiration, breath,
Mm,
in the wind, in the tree, the leaves of the trees, or even during insight. And I think if you connect with the air sylphs, you can get clarity, communication, new ideas, and spiritual insights, so it could be meditating outdoors, watching clouds, using breath work, or calling them for inspiration. I mean, I don't know about you, Sally, but I love watching clouds. I have since I was a kid.
yeah. I was really lucky because when I was a child, my dad lived on a farm for a few years, and
Mm.
so there's open fields, so we could just lay on the ground and just watch the clouds. And yeah, it's beautiful. I love it when the sky, like I call them Simpsons clouds. It's blue, and then you got the Simpsons clouds. From the opening of the Simpsons, and and that's how you can obviously. Well, I won't talk about dragons, but that is how you can see dragons sometimes in clouds as well, which we'll talk about next time.
We will do,
Yeah.
yes. We definitely will. So fire, and you're talking about salamanders, yeah,
Mm,
and they're not lizards. They are just pure fire energy.
mm,
They represent passion, transformation, and drive. Um,
yeah.
and it could be, candles, hearths, or during stronger moments of emotion, and they can help you with courage, motivation, creative spark, transformation. So light a candle, dance, visualize flames clearing old energy. And I love looking into fires and flames and just seeing what pictures come in.
Yeah, that's the best bit. I mean, we got a wood burner a few years ago, and I love doing that. Yeah. Um, It's really interesting because you know how you can read tea leaves and things like that. I've realised that you can read fires. If you have somebody sitting with you, you can look into fire and you can get a reading from the shapes of the flames in the fire, and it works just as well as tea leaves. Or I've done it with coffee grounds, cacao, but you can also do it with fire. Yeah.
How amazing that. So I mean, obviously if you're we're coming into summer here in the northern hemisphere, but obviously a bonfire outside, if you get a chance, just sit there, and just watch the flames, see what comes to you, ask
Yeah.
questions, and and be open to the answer.
Mm,
And then obviously, water and um obviously there's so much, but undines, and they are linked to rivers, oceans, and lakes, and their energy is flowing, soothing, emotional. um they can help with emotional healing,
mm,
intuition, flow, compassion. So spend time near water, having a
mm,
salt bath, or journaling is
yeah.
also a good way. I mean, I'm not really a bath person,
Oh, I am.
um, but so I'll use showers, but I love sitting by water. I think it's just so relaxing, and
Mm,
when it's clear and
it's
not a ripple, and
beautiful.
then yeah, and then you ask questions and you start seeing things moving. I love that.
That's amazing, isn't it? And what I haven't read this anyway, but it's my belief that undines in the water help cleanse it and help purify it, and make it, get rid of all the toxins in the water. So I always wonder if there's a way of encouraging more undines and things into the water to be able to do that. Just wonder if there's a way of helping water to heal itself, or getting the
Mm.
undines involved. There's got to be a system for that that somebody knows.
Uh,
Maybe if somebody's watching can help with that, because there's got to be a
yeah.
way. There's got to be a way, and there's got to be a way of humans being able to psychically clean water. There's got
Yeah,
to
no,
be.
that would be. I suppose you can also do, you could also do with intention in a
Hmm.
meditative state as well.
Yeah,
Get the intention and call them in and ask for their help.
that is true. That is true. Because I know you can call fairies in if you've got like a mouse in your house and you need to get rid. You can ask the fairies to help encourage the mouse out. So
Oh,
it
I've never heard of that one, but that sounds good.
yeah.
I've got a cat, so
You. Oh no.
yeah, who will bring the field mice in. And I kind of like have to distract and then put a bowl over them and
Oh
but to get them out. So it's good when she brings them in alive. It's when she brings them
yeah.
in dead, it's a
Oh.
little bit more. Ugh.
Oh.
I know, I know.
But
But yeah, so if
fairies
mice
will
come
help
in the
with.
house, it's only because she's brought them in.
Oh. But even things like if you keep getting butterflies trapped in your house or bees, fairies will help with any of that kind of thing. I've not read that anywhere. It's just what things I've been told, growing up, and I believe it to be true because I grew up in Kent, but near from the age of 4, but fairly near the orchards and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of history involved in the countryside. I went to school in Canterbury, and there's a lot of countryside near where I was at school. And used to get this knowledge passed on, that's obviously been passed on through generations, and the girls would talk about it at school. So there's lots of that kind of thing. So, and
Oh,
I do
yeah.
believe it. I think all those ways are coming back.
Yeah, and I,
Yeah.
I think we should listen to the old wives' tales, the
Yes.
farmers' tales, etc., about how they communicated
Yeah.
with nature and the elementals in nature, because that
Mm.
some amazing things. I think brownies, you can ask them to clean your house, can't you? I think I read somewhere.
Oh wow! I'm going to definitely try that.
I'm sure I read somewhere. Although what they'd ask in return,
That I
be
was about to say that there is always, you have to be quite careful because there is always some, like, a consequence. There's always something you've got to do in return. So that is always worth bearing in mind. And that is why what you do about leaving out some plant milk and honey, or I leave out a bit of cream or crumb sometimes. That is a good idea, because their systems are different to ours, and it is. I know we talk about energy exchanges, but them it is a literal exchange. So
yeah.
um,
And if you get little chips of crystal, so say like you've got a crystal and it breaks or something, break it down even further so it's tiny, and then leave that as little gifts for the fairies, for the elementals.
oh, that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's just come to me. So
that's great, that one.
yeah,
Wow.
well, you never know what to do when if you've got a crystal and it breaks.
Cry.
Well, yeah, there is cry, but just crush it up a little bit more and give it to the fairies
I think
as a
that's a good
gift.
idea. That's a
Um,
good idea.
and that. So, some simple ways to connect that I would suggest to you would be, go outside. Elementals thrive in nature. Sit quietly, listen, feel, and observe. Offer gratitude, like leave a small offering, like a crystal, a flower, a whispered thank you, crumbs, etc. Call them in, before meditation or on nature walks. Invite the energy of the elementals to guide and support you. But again, always remember to thank them at the end. That
Yeah.
is so, so important. And of course, honor the seasons. The elementals are closely tied to the seasonal shifts like spring, summer, autumn, and winter, which each carry, different elemental energies. So again, look up, you know what what elemental is it you're attracted to at a different part of the season, and then work with them for that. So during the summer you work with one, during the autumn, during the winter. So maybe the winter you work with the salamanders because of the fire element. The summer it might be the water sylphs.
Mm.
Spring it might be the air elementals. Yes, no, no, sorry. Summer was the water, so the undones. Spring maybe are the sylphs, and autumn, obviously, the gnomes, the trees, etc. Because I think I just think trees look really best in autumn. I love trees in autumn. I think they just have that beautiful
Mm.
quality. I think that's when they are look the best. What about you? You got any suggestions about connecting?
I think for me, it's really all about touch. I get my most energy hits. Obviously, ask permission first, but touching the petals of a flower, putting your hands on the grass, putting your hands on the ground, and feeling into the energies around you, and use that to enable you to ground, and then see either through your third eye or through your actual eyes, and see the elementals that will come around you. I think if we were all able to just take that veil off, I think we'd be surprised at the amount of elementals that would be around us, particularly if we live somewhere that's quite based around nature, or we live near a forest or field or that kind of thing. I think we'd be really surprised. And I think the other thing that, of course, we didn't mention was a good way to connect to the elementals is to do things for looking after the environment. So, for example, when we go on a dog walk, I have one of those litter pickers. So I pick up litter as I go, and pick up other people's, dog poo as I go, and that kind of thing. And I think by keeping the environment clean and obviously not using pesticides ourselves, planting bee friendly and animal friendly flowers and shrubs and that kind of thing, feeding the birds, all of those things are going to help us gain currency with the elementals. And I do feel using the words gain currency are quite apt, because as you mentioned earlier, Ray, there is always an exchange. But I think
Yeah,
that's a really good way to show your intent and to show you're pure of spirit, by doing those things, going out of your way to look after your environment around you.
yeah, no, yeah. I've been known to pick up a bit of litter and carry it to the nearest bin, sort of like that.
That's why
Um,
I've got one of those grabber things.
Yeah, but you can't always carry those. You can't always carry those about, and around.
Yeah, when you're going shopping.
You'd probably look a little bit thing.
Yeah.
But of course, somebody may be watching who's thinking, oh, everything you're talking about is great, but I live in a high-rise block of flats in the middle of a town. Um,
Oh, so
how am
what
I
can I
going to
do?
connect with
Mm,
with nature? Open your window, watch the clouds, get a plant. Plants
exactly.
are living,
Oh,
breathing things, and
exactly.
you can invite elementals in through the plants that you're growing in your house. And again, you can put little gifts like little crystals on there, as an offering, and asking for an elemental to come and visit, to stay. Well, probably to visit because they want to be out and about. But so there are ways, even if you are stuck.
And if your skin also, what it like fake away Chinese containers and stuff from like Morrison's or something, the plastic ones. I grow seedlings in those, and I have, because they fit exactly on my windowsill. So, and seeds, you can even go to a seed swap place, grow little things like candy tuft or something small, and you can grow those on your windowsill. And that costs, all of that will cost like £2. And that's a really beautiful way, particularly seeds, that little tiny things that are growing and bringing joy and bringing that vibrancy of spring into your house. That's a really simple way. I make little fairy gardens. I used to, oh, this is a primary teacher in me, make them with like milk bottle tops, you know, for like little tables and things like that, and put it amongst your seedlings, you know, and wine corks were like I'd use as little stools around a little lid and that kind of thing. You know, just, and even those plastic wine corks, they look even more like stools.
Yeah.
Just use what's around you, and that they will come. I've got a couple of fairy gardens in my garden. One I had Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but squirrels came and they've taken two of the dwarfs, so I've got five dwarfs now. But you know, just little things like that, and they will come. And I used to have a fairy garden in my border, and then it became a dinosaur garden because I've got boys. But you know, the thought was there. But you know, so there's little things you can do. Yeah, and the other thing you can do, is, of course, is guerrilla gardening. If you live in, you know, a flat and you haven't got a garden, is, you know, trees just on the street and there's a bit of soil at the bottom, just sprinkle a bit of compost and scatter a few seeds. Start
Yeah.
guerrilla gardening, and then they'll pop up, and then gradually in potholes as well, potholes and paving slabs. Do it then, and then you're spreading nature around an urban environment.
Yeah. And if you're doing it in potholes, then cars will avoid them.
Oh yeah,
So you're doing car drivers
a favour.
a service, but also when they go to fill the potholes, they know where they are.
They do double win.
Ah, yeah.
We should write a book of tips.
Yeah, exactly.
Useless tips for Sally and Ray.
No, I think they're absolutely brilliant tips. So, if there are no questions that
No,
anyone has got for us, um, I think it's that time of the show now where I believe you're not actually tuning into the energies this
I
month. You've got
didn't.
something else.
I did. I got this beautiful channeling through, and it was just so beautiful. It's too good not to share. So what I've done is I channeled it and recorded myself. Then I put it in one of those apps to get it into like something I can read, basically, because I didn't, you know, I didn't want to have to play a recording on here because I didn't know how to do that. So the first thing it says is that when we meditate, your energy is connecting with the energy of other people in the world who are meditating at that same time. And you're connecting with people who have a high vibration. As we connect, when we all meditate, we become a consciousness of one. And this fits with what you were saying, actually, Ray. It says, just like the trees communicate and connect to the worldwide web, we're connecting with this energy and with other people who hold that energy. And our energy links with each other's. And they showed it to me like trees that were lit up, and the whole world was lit up with golden trees, and below the surface too, with golden roots. And the roots are helping bring the energy back to the earth to give Gaia more energy she needs to heal herself. And these branches are connecting to what I work with, which is called the golden grid, and they're raising the vibration of our planet. And as our vibration raises individually and collectively, all that low vibration stuff just bounces off. It's like bouncing off the skin of a drum. And when rain is falling, they're showing it to me, for us, it's no longer like falling into a puddle and a ripple. It's just smooth. It's like we're Teflon, because everything is bouncing off us. Anything that's low vibration is just bouncing off. We've just got to hold steady, and we know there's challenging times globally, locally, and within ourselves internally, but it's about holding steadfast to that power of potential within us. And as the planet raises in vibration, we're becoming stronger, and our path of ascension is becoming easier. The gaps between the rungs of the ladder are getting smaller and smaller, so we're finding our ascension slightly easier. And they said that ascension is manageable. Don't worry about the bigger picture, just put one foot in front of the other and everything will fall into place. Don't worry about the bigger picture, work on the you things, on a you level. What do you need? What do you wish for? What do you hope? What makes you happy? What makes you feel safe? What makes you feel comfortable and supported? By automatically doing the you things, everything else falls into place. Your ascension will continue at a more rapid pace, and the more it does that, the less the negative stuff in the world matters. Because you're connected to this high vibrational network of beings, plants, people and the golden grid, and it's a team. It's an army of light workers bringing the world back to this higher level of consciousness. And comes with that is the energy of potential. So anything that's worrying you, you've got the power and the energy and the vibration to deal with it, because you've got that strong central column within you. And a lot of the low vibration stuff is not even entering your bubble anymore, it just ceases to become important. And they said that the old paradigm is shifting and crumbling. And as long as we keep heart centered and concentrate on the you things, all will be well. And that was from the Sisters of the Pleiades.
Wow,
Mm,
beautiful. Oh, what a brilliant message that they had come through for everyone.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is,
it just makes me a bit emotional. Just
oh,
yeah,
that is so nice. Thank you, ladies, um, uh, for that. So, shall we see what the cards have got for
yes,
us?
please.
So, I don't have any fairy cards, although I am looking forward to somebody I know has created her own deck, and I'm looking forward to
Ooh,
those coming out. I've seen the pictures. Oh my God, they are amazing. Anna Frolic, check her out. She's just started a Kickstarter, or she's going to be
oh,
starting a Kickstarter for them. Um, they are absolutely amazing. So I'm looking forward to getting those. So we're using the unicorn, magical unicorn cards
yay.
from Doreen Virtue today. That's the closest. Good job I didn't use the dragon cards, because
Oh yeah.
obviously we'll uh, we'll be using them before, although mm, uh, there might be a bit of an issue there, but
No,
hey.
it's fine. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. We'll go with it because I
Yep.
know.
So let's see what the unicorns want us all to know for this coming month. What the message have the unicorns got for us? Okay, what do they want us to know? Okay, we'll go with that one. So the unicorns are saying one step at a time. And I'm going to need to put my glasses on for this one because it's in small print. Lots of little steps make big dreams come true. So there we go. We have, let's do it that way. We have a beautiful, and of
Oh,
course, rainbow, which I love. Um, uh, on there. So what they are saying to all of us is, this month you don't need to do it all in one go. Just take those little steps, because every step you take starts building on that dream, on that passion, on the idea, on that thought of moving you forward. Keep seeing the end of the rainbow. Work your way towards the end of the rainbow. And when you do that and you trust in that process, things are going to come into place for you. You are going to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So trust the process moving forward. Take one step at a time. You don't need to do it all in one hit.
that's yeah.
Uh,
That's such a useful message actually at the moment.
yeah, I think it's yeah,
Yeah,
because we
really
are so busy
resonates.
trying to get everything um, in place. So thank you so much for joining us today on A Cup of Spirituality. Stallion and I hope that you found something meaningful to take away from this episode. And remember, this is your community, and we'd love to hear from you. So don't forget to share your thoughts, like this video, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next chat. And remember, every time you subscribe, like, or share any of our stuff, it really is part of that ripple effect of getting this information out there, so more and more people connect, become a community, just like the roots of the trees.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, that's what Ray and I are really trying to build, a community here, an online one. We've each got our own communities in person, but we're trying to build an online one with a big reach, so that people have got a space they can go, ask the questions they want to ask, and not feel judged or anything. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find out. We'll tune in. It's that's what we just want to help people on their spiritual journey, no matter where they are on it. And if you feel called to connect with us personally, you'll find all our details in the description below. just know that we're here to support you on your journey however we can. So until the next time, take care, stay curious, and keep on sipping that spirituality.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.